I think he was in people's heads. Like, just he wasn't even blocking shots for real. I don't think. I think he was just people was just going to the rim and was just like, oh, they got Rudy Gobert. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling them like, bro, he's the same as anybody else, bro. Like, to me, the best rim protector in the league is Porzingis. Like, anytime I go against Porzingis, I don't get no layups. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, I don't get why we couldn't finish on Rudy Gobert, but don't put no fear in my heart. I mean, yeah, I don't know why.
I can't believe that Anthony Edwards actually said this, and now these two are teammates with the future of the franchise tied to them. Seriously, what are the chances? Anthony Edwards could have said this about anybody, but he chose Rudy Gobert. Timberwolves fans, I'm sorry. That's an incredibly messy way to start the video, but I promise you guys that I love your team, especially Jaden McDaniels. If he starts to hoop like he hooped in those Pro-Ams this summer, it'd be hard to keep this guy off of an All-NBA team. To be more serious, perhaps an all-defensive team is more realistic. It's just hard to not be overly excited about the upside of this guy. He's 6'9", he's long, he has a solid handle. He's a growing shot creator, and defensively, he's versatile. He can stay in front of you, and he can also reject you at the rim. The Timberwolves did not want to include him in the Gobert trade, and for good reason. While we're on this topic, let's talk about exactly what the Timberwolves gave up for Gobert. This offseason, the Timberwolves will trade Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverley, Leandro Balmaro, Walker Kessler, who was the 22nd pick in this year's draft, Jarrett Vanderbilt, a 2023 first-round pick, a 2025 first-round pick, a 2026 pick swap, a 2027 first-round pick, and a 2029 first-round pick. You know what? I actually forgot how much this team gave up to go out and get Gobert. I knew they gave up a lot, but wow, that is a serious investment. But if this investment helps the Timberwolves win a championship, then of course it's all worth it. To quote Rudy Gobert, I didn't come here to have a good year and lose in the first or the second round of the playoffs. Tim didn't bring me here to do that. He brought me in to have these guys get to that championship level. Get myself to that championship level. Over the past few years, I really do feel as if Gobert has been overhated. For whatever reason, people love to post clips of this 7-footer getting ISO'd by guards. Sure, in some of these clips he's getting cooked and he's getting cooked bad. But at the end of the day, he's a 7-footer and a center. You can find clips like this for almost any big in the NBA. Being able to guard bigs and defend in space is a pretty rare trait in today's NBA. Unfortunately for the Timberwolves, early this season, some of the issues that have plagued Rudy Gobert in Utah now plague him in Minnesota. When the Timberwolves lost to the Jazz, Rudy Gobert said I was joking with these guys when I called us the best, worst defensive team I've ever seen. Rudy went on to note that Minnesota has a number of good on-ball defenders, but just has to find a way to maintain focus for 48 minutes. Surprisingly, the best, worst defensive team makes a lot of sense when it comes to the Minnesota Timberwolves. As Gobert noted, they are loaded with talent on the defensive side of the basketball. They just have to lock in. Anthony Edwards would agree with this thought process. To quote Ant, I think when I'm going against the premier offensive player, my defense is a lot better. I think I need to work on even when I'm not guarding the best player. I still gotta act like I'm guarding the best player, so I gotta be better. Monday, October 24th, the San Antonio Spurs would knock off the Minnesota Timberwolves. As I said in my 76ers video, which check it out if you haven't, it's a pretty good video. But yeah, a loss like this isn't the end of the world, but again, it's one of those losses that will make you feel as if the sky is falling. For Minnesota, it's way too early to panic. This is a team that's still learning to play with each other, and on top of that, it was a back-to-back. With that in mind, the effort was terrible and the team, or players on the team, looked gassed to an extent. The Timberwolves would get destroyed in transition. The Spurs would score 24 fast break points. For reference, last season the Kings led the league, averaging 21.3 a game. After this loss, Chris Finch, the coach of the Timberwolves, was fed up. He said that they outpunked us in every way possible, that we're kind of timid. Bear in mind that there is no Patrick Beverley or Jarrett Vanderbilt coming through those doors to save this team. Honestly, I think that some of these early struggles can be spun into a positive. It's better to struggle now than to be struggling come playoff time. On top of that, with guys like Pat Bev gone, for better or for worse, they're going to be forced to find a way to replace that fire. After the Timberwolves lost to the Spurs, Cat would be asked about Ant's struggles in back-to-backs, and he had some very interesting words. Let's leave it at that.
I mean, maybe I could do a better job of teaching him how to take care of his body, diet and everything. So that'll be on me. I know y'all think it's funny up here when he talks about Popeyes and all that shit. That doesn't make me happy to hear. We're high level athletes, so I got work. I got work to do. But also, it falls on me too. The old cliche, it falls on you. Everyone wants to take the blame, but it's all of us.
Let me know what you guys think of Cat saying this down in the comments below. Personally, I thought it was pretty candid and he was brutally honest. Against the Spurs, Anthony Edwards would score 9 points, he would grab 10 boards, but the catch is that he'd be 3 of 15 from the field. Anthony Edwards is a phenomenal talent, but right now, this early in his career, even he'll tell you, he's somebody that could hold himself accountable more often. And honestly, I think that's what Chris Finch and Cat are going for. I'm not sure how many of you guys know this, but apparently coming into this season, Anthony Edwards bulked up. When he was drafted, he was around 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", 220, 225 pounds. Currently, Minnesota lists him at 6'4", 239 pounds. Him being 239 puts him above players like Naz Reid. Naz Reid is 6'9", 236 pounds. If you are 6'4", 240 pounds, you are a beast. Anthony Edwards said this when asked about his decision to put on more weight. I think when I saw James Harden, finally, I didn't play him my first year and I saw him and he was big as I don't know what. I'm talking about his arms. His arms are pretty cut up. I was like, I'm trying to get a little definition. James Harden being Ant's inspiration to bulk up is different, simply because I've never heard of Harden inspiring anybody like this before. Now, of course, Harden's always been a great athlete, but when I heard this, I was still confused. Remember that Anthony Edwards and Harden have pretty different playing styles. Anthony Edwards is this ridiculously elite athlete known for throwing down gravity-defying dunks. And, well, the Harden that Ant saw is Harden. He's still one of the best guards in the game, but there were reports of him wanting to slim down this offseason for a reason. And if you ask me, I think that skinny Harden's been looking phenomenal. Now, of course, it's a bit deeper than that, but I think that my point remains the same. Now, this isn't saying that adding weight or muscle mass can't help a player's game. We see guys bulk up successfully and take things to another level all of the time. Just look at Brandon Ingram. The bulk without a doubt improved his game, and it also made him a better finisher around the basket. Also somebody that's better equipped to take advantage of mismatches. Again, there are cases in which bulking up can be essential. But in other cases, I do worry about the effects that it can have on a player's body, especially if this player is an explosive athlete. While it still is very early for Minnesota, I'm very interested to see what this team looks like come the postseason. The Gobert trade has added some interesting wrinkles that have to be talked about, like Cat being forced to play on the perimeter more defensively and continually having to go against quicker power forwards and bigger small forwards. And then there's that whole Anthony Edwards thing where he quite literally says that he prefers a smaller lineup. To quote Ant, "For me, I like to play with an open court. The smaller we go, the better it is for me." When asked, how do you do that with Rudy Gobert, he said, "I'm going to figure out, it won't take long." While I have complete faith in Ant figuring things out with Gobert, if Gobert gets played off of the court in the playoffs this year, then social media is going to get wilder than it's ever been. Gobert is a major impact player to me. He's a major reason that the Timberwolves have won the games that they have. But as we all know, everybody doesn't always feel the same way. T-Wolf fans, while we're here, I want to know how you guys feel about D'Lo. We all know about that contract situation. That's something that I actually want to talk about next. Oh yeah, and major shout out to Noel and Naz Reid. Big Jelly will forever be one of my favorite nicknames. Guys, clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm GetLikeCoop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.